Welcome back to building Fallout 76. Now, in our first video, showed a couple of places to stop by before you enter here in Flatwoods. Now we're doing as the Overseer instructed in her last holotape. We're going to register and become a responder. Right now, we're looking for Kesha McDermott, so we're going to find where she's at. And we're just go through the basic responder training, is what we're doing right now. So we go find Kesha. Now, sadly, none of the responders did survive. Kind of ironic. And coming down here, getting close, there's a public event that we can be part of. But for now, we're not going to worry about that. Instead, we are going to take the testing kit from Kesha. We're going to grab dirty water from the spring that she was at. And we're also going to get dirty water from the water pump. Just to make things a little bit easier, I'm going to turn off all those waypoint markers. Now, when it comes to events like that, they'll pop up randomly whenever you get close. Personally, that's not one of my favorites, but it is a good one. It's pretty simple. I see you. Oh, hold still. Really? Now, in our first video, whenever we got into the Overseer's cache, she gave us plans for a water pump. So, come over here. Now, this is also an early spot to grab bags of fertilizer so you can start growing crops in your camp. So is the fertile soil event that was over there. But for right now, let's just collect something from the water pump. And now we need to go and sterilize it, or analyze it first. So, there are a few crops around here that you can grab. Mute fruit is one of them, which is super useful. But we are heading back over here to the church. Oh my goodness. It would seem a mole rat found me. Now, one of the other reasons that we wanted to come here, analyze those samples, and now we get to boil the water. One of the first reasons to come down to Flatwoods is it's one of the first vendors that you can interact with. So I don't use grenades or other explosives. I use the throwing knives instead. If you want to, you can go ahead and sell off this food. You're not going to need it because you're still vault fed by this time if you just started out. I'd suggest not selling anything that hasn't been cooked yet, because you can get experience off of that. But a lot of these, like, you don't need that much purified water off the bat. Another thing is going over here to aid. I don't use chems, so I sell those. We have plenty of stim packs, so healing salves are kind of underpowered. Again, I don't use chems, so that's psycho, mentats, buff out. You don't need that much Radaway, for sure. I don't use the stealth boys, and I don't need that many stim packs. 15 is what I usually like to go with for a stim pack count. But this gives us an early leg up on some caps. So now we're going to head over here to boil some waters. Now you're going to see a bunch of options because I have all this food that I've collected and whatnot, and you can see ones that you can't make, but you can always toggle that by hitting L3. So we're just going to boil water. Now if you have a quantity meter, you can do as many as you want, but if you have like a bunch of stuff and you do it all in bulk, it doesn't give you as much EXP as you would by doing it singularly. So if you ever see me just sit here and I'm super mashing through crafting, that's wise, because it gives us just that extra little bit of experience. So now after we're done that little mission, we're gonna check on our volunteer status, and look at that, we are level 4. So now we're on to the second mission for the responders, which we need to find Delbert Winters, because he's the food guy. Now, you saw when the level up popped up, it gave us a perk pack. I never store these. I always open them, just because anything you're going to get right now is going to be useful in some fashion. Fire in the Hole is useful. Butcher's Bounty is useful. So, awesome. But we're also going to, at this point, always check to see if something new's come in. See, Gunrunner is new. Hacker is new. So always... Ooh, I might go Lone Wanderer. Green Thumb, though. Green Thumb, though. So, Green Thumb is a perk I always say grab because it's a one and done, and you get twice as much when harvesting flora. So we're going to go with that. Also because, I just happen to have a few things in perception now. So, go ahead and equip anything that you can for whatever reason. Now you can see how we've gotten a plan for a chemistry workbench from that first mission. And that was one of the reasons that we're doing it, is because this is the easiest and fastest way to get a chemistry workbench plan, other than just going out in the world and finding one lying around. So now, if we're lucky, yep, Appalach chili. He usually has a serving of that sitting in here, and again, it's a +2 to luck. That's why I just went ahead and eat it. I don't even need it because I still am fault fed, I do believe. Yep, for another hour. But for half an hour, I get a +2 to luck. So, super useful. We're going to come in here, take the throwing knife, take his mentats. You can listen to his survivor story if you want, but what you really need is to come in here and look up the volunteer training. So we need to cook a ribeye steak. First of all, we can do the optional. Yeah, because sometimes there's good meat on this guy, but right now is not one of those times. Sorry, Bessie. But now, if Butcher's Bounty kicked in, which it didn't, but we still got twice as much meat. Now you can go around and just take out everybody. I would not suggest that, because... can I milk you yet? No, I have to get past a certain level. But once you're past a certain level, you can milk Brahmin to get the Brahmin milk, obviously. But Brahmin milk gives you a little bit of food meter. It fills up your water meter a little bit, and can get rid of some rads. So if you're radiated just a little bit like I am, drinking a little bit of Brahmin milk will get rid of that. So now what he wanted us to make was a ribeye steak. So that's the mission. But while we're here, we're just going to go ahead and cook all of this. And again, you can do this, in bulk, but at the end of the day, it is a little bit extra EXP. Now, pay attention, because, here's a +2 to luck from Awesome Possum Bacon. So there's always ways for you to get the same Like the ribeye steak gives us some carry weight, but so does the grilled ragstag. So it's basically just there's more than one way to skin a cat scenario when you want certain boosts. Just pay attention to your recipes and whatnot. So now we're going to complete training here in Flatwoods. And that's going to send us over here to contact the responders on the database. And because you are no longer a guest but a volunteer, you can get the emergency message to go to Morgantown Airport. Now this also gives you no, I'm good with the icon. This also gives you a few areas on the map. They're not discovered, but they've pointed them out. So now, you know, here's Slocum Joe's, Gawley Mine, Morgantown Train Yard, yada yada. So here's where we need to go with Morgantown. You can see there's a couple of camps. Now when it comes to somebody's camp like this, you can fast travel. I can spend the 4 caps and just get there right away. But where's the fun in that, right? So what we're going to do instead is we are going to fast travel back to Vault 76. Now the reason we're doing that is because you can see, like as I showed you with this guy's camp, it's 4 caps. If I was to go to this guy's camp, which is a little bit closer, it's 2 caps. You know, so it's the how many caps depends on how far you have to travel. But certain places like Vault 76 are a free fast travel. So always try and keep note of that. Vault 76, Fort Atlas, Foundation, Crater, the White Spring, or at least a couple of places at the White Spring, the north and south entrances. Nuka World, the Rusty Pick, all of these places are free. And if you happen to be traveling to that area, there we go, there's the plan for the Tinkerer's Workbench. But if you happen to be traveling to that area, then it's a little bit more frugal to fast travel to the free place that's closer to your destination and then fast travel to your destination. Yes, it's an extra loading screen, I know, but it saves you caps in the long run, which is super useful. Now the reason that I said come back to the vault, A, I wanted to show that it's a free fast travel, but B, this is a, you know, go ahead and, instead of heading all the way back north, now we just need to head east from there. But like I had said when investigating the terminal for the responders, how it gave you a few locations on your map, you can also get the same effect from watchtowers in the game. They'll bring up the points of interest, which is what we're going for now. Problem being is, if I remember correctly, oh look, we got close enough to Grafton. If I remember correctly, this is protected by super mutants, which is a big ouchie at this stage of the game. So what we're gonna do, I'm gonna throw on our armor here. Pardon me. Because that'll give us some protection. And it's easy to tell if super mutants are in the area because there's always gore about. There's cages for their prey. You know, they've got these floaters that are always accompanying them. We'll just go ahead and take these guys out. Now, if you were doing this fresh out of the vault, it would be a little much, but now you've gotten some, defense, possibly found a better weapon. There's still another one, huh? And now that we're level 5, we can participate in player versus player. Alright, so I'm just going to go ahead and grab everything, because right now they should have dropped, yep, a hunting rifle, which is going to be our go-to pretty much until we get our heavy weapons going. But, yep, now that your pacifism mode is off, I'm going to check and see if there's any perks that are new and useful to you, like picklock, fire in the hole, things like that. Lone Wanderer is a really good choice right now. Finishing out Born Survivor is a good choice right now. But I think I'm going to go with Lone Wanderer. I am going stealth until we get things set up. So now be careful when ranking stuff up, because if I didn't have the 2 in agility, then I wouldn't be able to equip this. But right now I'm able to. So, and again, I don't plan on using moving target because I'm using a power armor build. Most of my sprinting will be in power armor, but for right now, since it's hard to maintain and most of the time I'm not going to be in it, we can go ahead and equip that. Now, when it comes to this watchtower, spoiler alert, there is a safe at the top that needs a key. And if you get all the way up there, you'll see there's a note that says whoever was up there threw the key on top of this outhouse, this porta-john. So I'm pointing it out so you can grab the key before you get all the way up there and have to come back down. But from here, I like to always check the gore bags. Sometimes they'll have random meat or items. In this case, they had some bone. But what we really want is up at the top. Yeesh. What a sight. What a sight. So, take the junk. Take the ammo. Yeah, and see, here's the note from whatever responder saying I threw it. Ha ha ha. But you're not gonna... There we go. Go ahead and get in there. Some more ammo. Now, mind you, whatever gun you are holding is what most ammo will show up on defeated enemies or just randomly. So beware of that. But the real usefulness, you see how now this says survey area? We'll go ahead and survey that, and you're going to see a bunch of titles pop up because, all of these have now been shown. And here's the lighthouse. Here's Gorge Junkyard, which is going to be a stop of ours. So yeah. Now, one thing, if I was to fall from here, it would obviously kill me. One of the reasons, even if you're not a power armor character, if you're planning on just doing regular armor, the reason that I personally suggest you always have a piece of power armor on you is for this reason. No, not the reason of getting stuck in the animation. That's terrible. But power armor will cancel out any fall damage that you could possibly go through. So if you're trying to get to a new location and you happen upon a cliff that you can't just climb down, like you don't want to go around, it's always good to have a suit of power armor to be a shock absorber. So instead of taking all the stairs down, you can just jump. Super useful. Good times. Why is that going nuts? That's kind of funny. Anywho, from here, we're going to head east. Now, I'm not going to search for it, but somewhere between this watchtower and the Gorge Junkyard is a beautiful spot to camp. The reason it is a beautiful spot to camp and highly sought after is there are 2 resource nodes close enough to fit into the camp. I want to say that there's steel and copper or something like that. But I know that there's somewhere hearing gunshots. Because there's a random raider here. Fighting ghouls. Speaking of campsite. Oh hey, snub-nosed, 44. Yeah, some poor pilot crashed here back in the day. Now, I want to say that that is close to... And it is. Alright, so this is the spot I was talking about. As you can see here, there's an iron deposit, so that's for steel. And then over here is a copper deposit. And again, I'm surprised nobody's here. You know, it's semi-flat for building. But again, it is very possible to get both of these for camp. Now, you might be asking yourself, well, why don't you throw a camp down then if it's not taken and whatnot? Because I personally like to camp somewhere else nearby, which is where we're headed. So, first of all, I'm just trying to make it over here to the Gorge Junkyard. It's one of my personal favorite workshops. And the way that a workshop works is you can see here that there's spaces for food, for water, titanium, wood, concrete, and junk. So if you come into the workshop, you can claim it. You have to clear out any enemies first. And then once you claim it, you can use it just like your own camp, but it has these resource spots and is public, meaning that some other survivor can come through and take claim of your shop while you own it. You can defend yourself for it, but I've run into too many situations with like a, hardcore player, some level 800s, like it's my shop now, and all I can do as a level 60 something is be like, yeah, you're right, it's your shop now. So we're not going to bother with that just yet. It's on the list of things we will accomplish eventually. But I'm going to continue on down the road to my first camp spot. The reason that I like to do this camp spot is because I prefer camp. When it comes to junk collecting, it'll be random what pieces and parts get scavenged, but it's always stuff that you're going to end up needing, like waste oil, or screws, or loose gears, or springs, things like that. And it is close by. Originally, I used to like to camp on this spot right here, right next to Gorge Junkyard. It's a really nice spot because there's a concrete extractor. Well, you can build a concrete extractor on the gravel pit. So you can get the gravel from here to make concrete and the concrete from the workshop. That way you could save up enough concrete to make a sturdier structure for your next camp, not to mention it's next to a water source, so if you have a water purifier, this was a good spot to camp. But I now prefer to head up the road a bit, because instead of doubling up on concrete extraction, I'm going to double up on junk extraction. Now, mind you, this node is not the greatest because there's very little room to build with. It's in the middle of a road, so people traveling the roads are going to find your camp easily, even if you don't make it a public camp. But I always like to scavenge the junk pile before I take it, and also before I set a camp, I like to go into the third-person camera and zoom out. So you go in and press L1 for your camp. Now this is going to bring up a radius, so be careful, because if the camp's over here, that junk pile's not really in the camp. So if you want to, you can even place it like directly on, make it the center of your camp. But what I prefer to do is just get it on the edge, have it be an outlying thing. Because again, this is like the closest thing to flat we're gonna get is the road. And in case, like the other campsite I showed you, you know, if you have two different nodes, this would be the best way to see if you have the camp on both of them. But we'll go ahead and throw down our first camp. Now you can easily, from here, go into the build menu. First thing I'm going to do, because this is going to show you everything that you've just learned, all the new stuff. You know, even you can see here the little atomic shop stuff that I've unlocked through this season's scoreboard. But because, like I do with all my series, I'm trying to assume that you are brand new to this game and don't have any of that fancy-dancy stuff unlocked. Like this ally, he's from the atomic shop. I'm going to try my best to not throw stuff like that in, unless it's one of the items I know for a fact is free to all players. So what I'm going for first is resources. And I'm looking for the junk extractor. And we're going to go ahead and throw it in. Now, at this point in time, we do not have... I don't think you even have the medium generators right now. I think we only have small. But I know for a fact we don't have large or any of the other ones, and eventually we will go over where and how to get those. But for right now, we're just going to throw down however many we need to power this extractor, and then hook that up. I just like to make a loop because electricity. So now that we've got that running, the main next thing you're going to be needing is some shelter. So let's give me shelter. The first thing is floors, and again, we should have plenty of wood, but I'm going to actually, I'm going to cut the video off here, just because this has ran on for a little bit. But in the next episode, I'm going to show a very basic building that you can make and make a blueprint of, so that it's easy to move your camp and you have everything you need to get things going. But hopefully you found this informative and entertaining, and I will catch you in the next one. Peace.